Cardano community concerned over Robinhood and Celsius selling ADA. At the same time, SHIB, XRP, ADA, secure spot in prominent Hong Kong index. And we all know kind of 3 weeks ago, 21 days ago, Cardano ADA implicated an SEC lawsuit against Coinbase as well as Binance. And it started just this huge storm of fear. And now here we are, we're 3 weeks later. And the markets have had time to digest it. The markets have had time to kind of react to it. And I just want to point something out before we even go through the situation with Robinhood and Celsius, before we talk about the bullish Cardano news, before we look at even the Cardano charts and this very special oscillator on the screen. I want to point something out. Cardano, after all of that, right now at least, still sitting at a top 7 cryptocurrency. Top 5 if you put aside the stablecoins. It's a blue chip still. Everything, price is down, obviously. It's underperformed in recent weeks, but everything on track in terms of Cardano on the macro, in my opinion. So I wanted to point that out. But let's dive into this news, and let's start with Cardano, Robinhood, and Celsius drama. Cardano community concerned over Robinhood and Celsius selling ADA. In the Cardano ecosystem, a wave of concern, I love that, a wave of concern is spreading over the possibility of a large-scale liquidation of the ADA token by Robinhood and Celsius. The reasons behind the decisions of these two platforms differ, but the specter of a considerable sell-off has triggered some alarm bells within the community. Rightfully so, because if you think about it from just a headline perspective, it's kind of like, this isn't good. People like exchanges delisting ADA, and then we have not only delisting, but hey, we gotta just liquidate our ADA. Opinions within the Cardano community are notably diverse. And here's Chris. He started a thread discussing this, and I'm going to look at a couple points to that thread. But basically, there's kind of people that are just like, this isn't really a big deal, and then there's people that are just like, this is terrible for ADA. Man, ADA is going to crash, right? So the people that think this is not really a big deal assert that the market has already assimilated the impending event and that the pervasive pessimism surrounding it is having a larger impact than the actual sales. I kind of agree with that. Yet there are some in the community who find themselves at odds with the situation. So they highlight that Robinhood has announced a cutoff date of June 27th, and we're there. June 27th is here. And before we look at what has happened in terms of Robinhood at the very least, I want to look at some numbers. Here's Chris on Twitter. Here's an estimate of their holdings in terms of Robinhood and Celsius. So if you look at this data here, you can just see RH Holdings in bold, ADA on the right, 30 million. That's Robinhood Holdings, 30 million. Celsius Holdings, 26 million. So it's actually notable that Robinhood has more. So he says the 24-hour ADA trading volume was nearly $200 million just today. The total holdings have each platform is 1/4 of that. So 200 million trading volume, and you can just see the total is 56 million in terms of those holdings. Now, I just want to point out, when it comes to Robinhood, check it out. What happened to the ADA, Matic, and Sol I owned at 6:59 p.m. Eastern on June 27th? If you were still holding any ADA in your Robinhood crypto account, it was sold. So that's in the past now. It was done just less than 2 hours ago. It was sold for market value, and the proceeds were credited to your Robinhood buying power. So there it is. And if we go to just a 6-hour chart on ADA, you can just see, and actually I should go to an hourly chart because that red move, that's actually just happening, right? So, and it's kind of, crypto is kind of in the red right now, the very short term, but there was no real significant move in terms of ADA price because of this. I just want to point that out. And then Celsius, we have kind of Celsius going to be more spread out in terms of sales. And by the way, we're going to look at these ADA charts after we cover this next headline. So let's go to the next headline, which is this. Justin HKVAC, a Hong Kong rating agency, launches virtual asset index, including BTC ETH, but there's ADA in there as well. So the index includes ADA and other smaller assets, making it one of the first institutional grade products of its kind in Asia. That's kind of a big deal. And this is the headline: ADA secure spot in prominent Hong Kong index. Hong Kong Virtual Asset Consortium has made a significant announcement revealing the launch of its highly anticipated virtual asset index. the index aims to capture the performance of various cryptocurrencies and provide local investors with a comprehensive overview of the market. Notably, this index includes 3 prominent cryptos, Shiba, XRP, and Cardano. So they set stringent criteria for inclusion in the index, demanding a median market cap of 10 million over the preceding 3-month period, along with a median daily traded volume or value of no less than $100,000 during the same time frame. And you can just see CZ over here on Binance, Hong Kong moving forward. This comes on the heels of another significant event, which is Hong Kong recently allowing its customers to trade ETFs for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Growing acceptance and integration of cryptocurrencies demonstrate its commitment to embracing the digital revolution in the financial sector. The reason I'm reading all that, or at least taking the time to read all that, is simply because it's just another important reminder that what's happening in the United States, what's happening with these headlines, that's just that. Number one, just because the SEC has the opinion doesn't mean it is so. That's number one. It has to go through courts, see what Congress does. But number two, the world is way more vast and larger than the United States and what they do. And you can see Hong Kong displaying that firsthand in the weeks that followed this bearish news. Let's pivot to the Cardano charts. So before we talk about this oscillator, I'll mention this is an oscillator that I've been working on. I'm really excited, still fine-tuning some things, but really excited to start using this and offering this to all of you out there that are interested in something like this. But this is kind of taking a lot of my technical analysis approach into an oscillator, and it is really powerful. So before we talk about that on the weekly, though, and really what I'm watching, I do want to just go to the daily and the 6-hour to just discuss the shorter term move that's happening right now. And you can just see ADA is still in. This is actually an hourly. I'm sorry. I was saying this is a 6-hour. This is an hourly chart, but a really nice picture of this consolidation on the daily. But on the hourly, it's kind of like it's just in between this rising channel, which I discussed yesterday. One thing I want to point out, and the target is really the same no matter how you do this, but that lower trend line, we can plot it how we plotted it here, which is kind of my take on it. But you could also kind of take this swing low back here and you can kind of plot it this way as well, right? So we can say ADA is really testing support right now, in which case maybe it breaks out to the downside and maybe we have to start tracking a pullback at that point. But either way, the target to the downside, no matter how you want to chart this, is right around 22, 23 cents to the downside. Again, I feel like price is almost exactly where it was last night when I talked about this, but this is the main thing in the short term I'm watching. Is ADA going to make the move to the upper trend line or the lower trend line first? It's obviously right now in the hourly trending down towards the lower trend line, but who knows if it gets there. Lower trend line around 27 cents. We'll watch to see what happens at support. Upper trend line around 31 cents. The daily is a little bit more relevant to me, I guess you could say. And it has to do with what happens on the hourly chart. But this 20-day moving average right now on this daily chart, I don't want to see it fail. And the thing is, with narratives about exchanges selling ADA, with negative sentiment still lingering from the SEC news, it's possible, right? And what we want to see really is separation to the upside of this 20-day moving average. It's right around 27.5 cents. And there's not a lot of room for ADA for support, right? That's the support area in terms of this 20-day moving average. The interesting thing about that is if we go back to this pattern, what's there? It's the lower trend line of this rising channel. So that support area is very important to me. But I think what's really important to me is seeing the 20-day moving average hold. And I don't sit here with a ton of confidence that that's definitely going to happen, right? It's nice to see we pop back above it and we're trending alongside it and above it, but we really need a strong daily pop above, separation above. We need to start testing this area up here. That's the true resistance area. We haven't even gotten there yet. Remember, that's the swing high to swing low. That wick is crazy down there. And it's this Fibonacci channel around 35 cents at the upper end and 32 cents at the 618 lower. So we haven't even gotten there yet. So it's that power move that we're looking for. It would really stem from ADA breaking through the upper side of this channel. But again, we need to see ADA make the move to the upside for that to even happen. Going to the weekly, I just want to point out, as always, as we track the structure of ADA, and we really are tracking, and I think when we get months and months and months ahead, can even be a couple years ahead, when we look back at this area, I think what we're going to be tracking right now is the pivot to the bull market, right? And I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't know if there's another swing low in play. But what I do know is right now we're at a very strong higher low from the last cycle low. And there's room, there's cushion, right? And a lot of that, I think at this point, has to do with what happens with crypto in general and what's the next move for crypto markets in general. We still have a while till Bitcoin halving, taking that into consideration. But right now, we continue to monitor what this is showing us on the weekly. And here's the oscillator, everybody. So I wanted to just point out a couple things on this oscillator. When it comes to what's going on here, there's a lot going on. And a lot of it has to do with my take on momentum, my take on oversold, overbought environments. But a couple things I just want to point out. Number one is this. This X right here, this is a really nice, solid indicator coming into play. And the reason that happened is because you can see this ribbon, which is based off of kind of price action. You can see all the ribbons crossed over each other and started trending up. And that took place kind of at a very interesting area, right? Which is to say, that was happening, if we look at this, that was happening right as ADA was basically testing this 20-week moving average. And as you know, throughout this entire cycle, that's all we've been tracking, waiting for ADA to break above the 20-week moving average and start seeing support. That ribbon crossing up and that green X coming into play, which is bullish on the macro, notice the last time that happened was all the way back here in May 2020, that X hit. So we had that happen. Here's the problem though, and we'll never know what would have happened. You know, Bitcoin's been seeing strength. We never know what would have happened. We had this kind of fear event out of nowhere, right? This event that nobody was anticipating. It happened, and it really kind of threw off the chart. But this oscillator proves powerful, I think, and it's still new, and I'm still getting my feet wet with it. But this is where it proves powerful, because just like anything else, it's not one indicator or one confirmation we're looking for. In this case, a green X, right, on the macro. That doesn't mean go out and buy. That's the bottom, right? It's a very nice signal when used with other things. And so the other thing to take into account right now is what's happening here on this histogram. Now, this histogram is purple right now, right? So what that is signaling for ADA is the very fact that ADA on the weekly is below the 20-week moving average. That's a bearish thing. That's not a bullish thing. So what we're looking for, the confluence of different things happening, at least when it comes to this indicator, is this cross of the ribbons to the upside, as well as strong turquoise candles, which is to say, hey, ADA is above the 20-week moving average. And to give you a really, really nice example of what this might look like, we can go back here. And this was all the way back here in 2020. We can see ADA, the ribbons crossing, and just this strong power move of turquoise happening on that histogram. And what was happening there? We had ADA breaking above the 20-week moving average with strength. And that's what we want to see in terms of just true bull environments, right? And we don't have that yet. We do not have that on this oscillator, on this weekly. We have kind of a weakening histogram. Right now it's purple, which is bearish. And so we just need some time in terms of ADA turning that around. And it all really does start on the zoomed in, what's happening on the zoomed in charts. And this is where it starts for me on the zoomed in. I'll be watching this. I'll be seeing, does ADA test a lower trend line at 27 cents? Are we going to make a move to 31 cents upper trend line? And can ADA break above to start testing this key resistance on the daily and ultimately start turning around this weekly chart, namely getting above that 20-week moving average around 36 cents. And then we'll see this oscillator start performing in probably a different way on the macro. Other things going on here, looking forward to talking about in future videos, but figured it would be nice to kind of integrate that into the macro segment of this video. Everybody, I appreciate you coming through. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I hope you're doing well. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.